All right, so welcome everyone to another deep dive. Today we're going to be looking into something that I think we could all relate to.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, have you ever been watching a movie or a TV show and there's like a big dramatic courtroom scene going on
Oh, yeah. All the time.
and they're throwing out all this jargon, all these legal terms, and you're kind of just sitting there like,
Completely lost.
yeah, exactly. Like, what is going on?
It can definitely feel like a whole different language.
Well, right. So today we're going to be decoding some of that legalese, breaking it down so that next time you're watching one of those courtroom dramas or, heaven forbid, you find yourself in an actual legal situation.
Hopefully not.
Yeah, hopefully not. But, just in case, you'll have a better understanding of what's actually going on.
Yeah, because knowledge is power, right?
Exactly. So let's jump right in. First things first, we got to meet the key players in any legal battle.
Oh, okay.
The plaintiff and the defendant.
Right, like the two main contenders, right?
Exactly. So tell me a little bit about who these people are.
So you've got the plaintiff. That's the one who initiates the lawsuit. They're claiming they've been wronged somehow.
Okay.
So maybe they got hurt in a car accident or someone breached a contract with them, something like that.
Gotcha. So they're the ones who are bringing the issue to court.
Exactly. And then you have the defendant, the one who has to defend themselves against the plaintiff's claims.
So it's like a legal boxing match with the plaintiff throwing the first punch and the defendant trying to block it.
That's a great way to put it. It's a back and forth, each side trying to prove their case.
And speaking of proving their case, that's where evidence comes in, right?
Absolutely. And one of the most important types of evidence is testimony. That's what witnesses say under oath.
Okay, so that's why they make such a big deal about swearing to tell the truth in court.
Right, because that oath adds a whole other level of weight to what they're saying.
Yeah, it's not just casual conversation anymore.
Exactly. Lying under oath is actually a crime. It's called perjury, and it can have some serious consequences.
Makes sense. So there's a lot of pressure on those witnesses to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Absolutely. And that's where things can get really intense, especially during cross-examination.
Oh, yeah, when the lawyers start grilling those witnesses.
Exactly. They might ask leading questions, trying to guide the witness toward a specific answer, or they might fire off a bunch of questions really quickly, hoping to catch the witness off guard.
So it's not just about finding the truth, it's also about strategy and how you present your case.
You got it. It's a legal game of chess.
And sometimes in the heat of the moment, a lawyer might try to pull a fast one,
Oh, yeah.
which is where we hear that dramatic objection.
Oh, yeah, the classic courtroom interruption.
Right. It's like the lawyer's way of saying, hey, wait a minute, something's not right here.
Exactly. And there are lots of reasons why a lawyer might object. Maybe the other lawyer is asking irrelevant questions or trying to introduce hearsay evidence.
Hearsay. Like my cousin's hairdresser told me they saw the defendant at the scene of the crime.
Exactly. That's secondhand information. It's like gossip. Generally, that's not allowed as evidence because
Yeah.
it's not very reliable.
Makes sense. It's all about making sure the evidence presented is credible and relevant to the case.
Right. And all of this happens within a specific court, which brings us to another important concept: jurisdiction.
Jurisdiction, so like a court's area of authority.
Exactly. Think of it as a court's territory. They can only handle cases that fall within their specific power.
So like a small claims court probably wouldn't handle a case about international espionage, right?
Probably not. Different courts have jurisdiction over different types of cases.
So it's all about making sure the case is heard in the right court.
Exactly. Now, let's shift gears a bit and talk about something really crucial: the standard of proof in criminal cases.
Okay.
This is a big one. In a criminal case, the prosecution has to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt.
Beyond a reasonable doubt. That sounds pretty serious.
It is. It means the evidence has to be so strong that there's basically no other logical explanation other than the defendant is guilty.
Wow, so it's not enough to just show that the defendant is probably guilty.
Right. There can't be any reasonable doubt in the minds of the jury.
So if a jury has even a little bit of doubt, they have to acquit the defendant.
Exactly. That's why we say a defendant is acquitted, meaning found not guilty rather than proven innocent.
It's all about whether the prosecution met that high burden of proof.
Precisely. Now, before we wrap things up, let's talk about two more important legal terms: deposition and subpoena.
Okay, I've heard those words thrown around, but I'm not really sure what they mean.
So a deposition is basically a pre-trial interview under oath. It's a chance for the lawyers to gather information from witnesses and get their testimony on record before the actual trial.
So it's like a dress rehearsal for the main event.
Exactly. And sometimes, to make sure a witness shows up for a deposition or appears in court, they issue a subpoena.
A subpoena, that's a legal order, right.
You got it. It's basically a legal summons that says you have to show up.
So you can't just ignore it.
Nope. Ignoring a subpoena can have some serious consequences.
Wow, we've covered a lot of legal ground today.
We have, from plaintiff to defendant, testimony to objections, and everything in between.
It's definitely a lot to take in, but I feel like I have a much better grasp on legal jargon now.
Me too. And for all of our listeners out there, I want to leave you with a thought. Now that you know about hearsay and how it can be unreliable, how might that change the way you evaluate gossip or rumors you hear in your everyday life? Something to think about.
That's a great point. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us,
Thanks for having me.
and we'll see you next time.
See you later.